Good morning and welcome to the show. Apologies in advance for starting half an hour late. um, it is Friday, the 3rd of July 2026. How you all doing? I'm going to put my cards on the table right now and say I was out till about 3 o'clock in the morning last night in Liverpool. So I kind of slept in and only woke up at about 10 minutes to 9, like going, oh shit, I've got to do morning brew. So thank you for everyone who stayed with us this morning. We've got Elle, we've got Diz, we've got Martin, we've got Simon in the chat, Sarah Davis as well. If you SG, if you'd like to join our friends in the friendly chat, all you need to do is hit the big friendly subscribe button and wait for approximately 60 coffees. How you all doing? How you? I ended up a heaven. I've got a heaven stamp on my hand. I think that's a gay club. Morning all. Late to the party. What have I missed? Graham, nothing, mate. I've literally just started streaming. Hi, Mrs. Hughes. Is my mum in the chat there? Good morning, everyone. Oh, thanks, Mum. Where is she? She's in the house somewhere. You should take a month off sometime. Graham says, Cuthbert. Yeah, but then I'll get no money. I had to keep performing like a little seal with a ball on my nose, going, oh, oh, oh. Anyway, so I'm going to set up the super chats and then we'll get into what we're actually going to talk about today, which is the news. You're in a news grave. What does it say? News. Sorry, I've got to take out my battery and put it back in again. This is a Duracell battery. You'd expect a Duracell battery to last a bit longer in my wireless keyboard, but whatever. Right, there you go. It's working now. Confetti. So I'm setting up a goal. I don't know why I'm doing this. It's a bit cheeky, isn't it? It's like, oh, you turn up half an hour late and then you expect a goal. Imagine turning up to a football match half an hour late and expecting a goal. Well, there would be some, wouldn't they, going against you? Good morning, Graham. Hangover not kicked in yet for me. Still going strong, but not so. Watched the footy last night, was good, says Phil Nelson. Well, the footy on Monday, sorry to talk about the round ball Earth Cup, F Trophy, but there is a match, an England match on Sunday night at 1 o'clock in the morning. I am probably going to watch it. Well, let's be honest here. England are going to get their ass spanked. I mean, what is it? Is it 88 games that have been played at the Azteca Stadium by Mexico, and how many have they won? 86. All but two. All but two. I mean, come on. Graham, you look less rough on hour 64 of your record attempt, says L. Yeah, I was doing fine. I was stone cold sober. I've got a meeting at 11. I've got to go for a meeting at 11, so I'm only going to go till 10:30 today. I'm not going to be able to drive. This is really bad. Like, I'm going to have to get a Uber or something because I don't trust. Well, it's not that I don't trust myself to drive. Well, it is. I don't trust myself to drive. I'm not going to drive. As simple as that. Because I was drinking till quite late last night, and yeah, my mates texted me saying the sun, it's up. Yes, yes, it is. Oh my god. I'm live streaming. Okay, so what are we talking about today? What has been going on? Well, we've got first of all, we have US investigators have uncovered an international network arranging drug facilitated sexual assaults through online forums. Sorry, UK. Did I say US? UK investigators have uncovered an international network. Does this surprise anyone? Do you know what I mean? Like, I see news stories like this. I'm like, what? You found people using the internet for horrible things. Where have you been? Like, where's the police been? Where are they? What are they doing? All I can imagine is that the police in this country and the MI5 and MI6, they're just like dinosaurs, doing one key typing, and, oh, and then having to call like the IT department because I pressed that, but nothing happened. And I'm just like, this should have been done ages ago. If the UK authorities had clamped down on foreign interference in what people see on the internet, when the Brexit referendum happened, the Brexit referendum wouldn't have happened. It only happened because the Nazis from Russia were all online going, all the bot farms and Cambridge Analytica motherfuckers, telling everyone who was willing to listen that the EU was coming to take away your cups of tea and your polar bears. It's going to kill all the This is what it put out. This genuine. If you go onto projecthope.eu, one of my websites, there's a bunch of memes there where I've clipped the pictures that they sent out. At the time, unbelievable. And they were targeted towards certain people who they knew would be susceptible to bullshit, like old people, basically. Not all boomers, but enough. Turn up late and leaving early, but still have a super chat. Oh, thank you, Sarah. Thank you. That's very kind of you. All things considered this morning. I don't know if I deserve it, but thank you very much for the super chat. In Trump's dementia-addled brain, Roosevelt was real. That's a PK machine. I mean, I don't want to be a party pooper because I do like laughing at the mad little shit. But the Roosevelt he was talking to was like an AI generated hologram thing, and you were supposed to ask it questions. So he asked these questions, right? But then he did a speech where he was like, I was just talking to Theodore Roosevelt, and I was asking him what he thought of the Panama Canal. And everyone in the audience was just like, because he didn't have the context of the fact that he'd been talking to this AI generated hologram of Roosevelt. They were like, we love you, Donnie. We love you. And I'm like, he's so cheated to win that election. What do you think? I mean, there's no way he won that election. I'm sorry, but there's no way he won that election. Him and Elon Musk. This is why he was so up the arse of Elon Musk in the first few months of his presidency. Elon Musk delivered that win. He just bought all the voting machines. And there were certain districts where Trump got 100% of the votes. And Kamala Harris got none. Like 0. Okay. If the police did their jobs better, they'll be out of their jobs. The Russia report was sunk by Johnson. It was up to the police. The police should have looked into it, and they didn't. And then Parliament should have looked into it, and they made a point of not looking into it. I'm going to sneeze. Hang on. I'm allergic to getting up with a hangover after like 3 hours sleep. Morning. In the right wing's case, they always accuse everyone of which they are guilty of. They do indeed. Do you know what? I need to check my wallet. I need to check my wallet to make sure that it's got my cards in it still. I seem to have this memory of finding my wallet on the floor in the club. Who still goes to clubs? No, that's okay. I've got my pop card here. Look at this. You like your Oyster card? Yeah. Well, in the Northeast, we've got a pop card. Look at that. Look at that. That's me get on the bus. Anyway, I have not had any sleep, says One Angie Pagan. Oh, One Angie Pagan, get some sleep, man. Don't be going without any sleep. In the right wing's case, they accuse everyone of which they're guilty of. Yeah, they have. The sun is up, the trees are in full bloom, stealing my photons. Sod this eco solar panel malarkey. I'll be out shouting at the trees and preservation orders from the council, says Phil. Yeah, go out and definitely shout at a tree, because that'll make you seem more sane, honestly. The Scouser is normally the guilty, but fuck off, Chris. Chris is like, oh yeah, it's the Scousers. What do you call a Scouser in a suit? The accused. What do you call the Scouser in a white trackie? The bride. Yeah, very funny. What's the difference between Scousers and sperm? Well, there's millions of them, but only. So you know what have they got in common? What have Scousers and sperm got in common? There's millions of them, but only one actually works. Sorry, I shouldn't be telling Scouse jokes. What's the difference between Scousers and Batman? Batman occasionally goes out without Robin. Why does the River Mersey run through Liverpool? Well, because if it walked, it'd get mugged. Anyway, I should say Merseyside. I need to rephrase that joke, don't I? Why does the River Mersey run through Merseyside? Etc. So that joke isn't about the Scousers going up to heaven. They get the pearly gates and St. Peter's there, and he's like, "I'm sorry, lads. You can't come in." And these three Scousers are like, "What are you talking about?" He says, "Oh, we've got a sign." The sign says no Scousers, and the Scousers start arguing the toss like they do, and essentially, like literally hours, days, weeks, years later, St. Peter gets fucked off with these guys just continuously arguing the toss at the gate. And they're like, "Oh, go get the big fella. Get the big fella. We're not going until the big fella comes." And they're disrupting the queue and everything. So St. Peter, just exasperated, goes and gets God and comes back. He says, "Oh, you got to talk to these Scousers, man. They won't take no for an answer." So they come back, and Saint Peter goes, "Oh, they've gone. Where the Scousers gone?" And God says, "Never mind that. Where are the gates?" Hey! No, not funny. I didn't say Scouser. I said accused. Oh, I read it as Scouser. I thought you were having a go at Scousers. No, every accusation is a confession. No, I read that correctly. I read that as I think. I don't know. Maybe it's another one that I read incorrectly. Good morning, everyone. How are we doing today? Asks Leapshin. I'm very hungover and possibly still a little bit drunk from last night. I'm feeling pretty meh as always. No sign of summer either. It's only 12 degrees up here in South Ayrshire and ready to pish down. It's a bit overcast here in Liverpool, I have to say. But I did have a very good night last night. So, there's a Scouser and he goes into a gay bar. Have you heard this one before? Stop me if you think you've heard this one before. Scouser goes into a gay bar. He doesn't know it's a gay bar, and he sits down at the bar. He's got bar stools there, and this guy next to him looks at him and he says, "Hello." And the Scouser goes, "Oh, friendly guy, yeah, hello." And the guy says, "Do you mind if I buy you a drink?" And the Scouser's like, "Yeah, you can buy me a drink. That's fine. That's awesome." And he has a free drink. 7 pints in, he's like this, This guy just keeps buying him drinks. And then eventually the guy leans over and whispers in his ear, "Fancy a blowjob?" And the Scouser's like, "You are!" And he pushes the guy off the stool. The guy's on the floor, like he's, and the Scouser's laying into him, like proper, "I'll kill him. And the barman jumps over the bar. And he's pushing the Scouser back, going, "Calm down, mate." And the Scouser's still like this, I'll have him, man." And he's like, "Fucking hell, mate." And this poor guy's on the floor, like, just not looking good. And the Scouser's like, fucking. And the barman says to the Scouser, what did he say to you? And the Scouser goes, "I don't know. I wasn't paying attention. Something about a job." Sorry. Let's crack on. The only gay bar I've ever heard was the weird band Electric Six. Electric Six weren't weird. They were great. I want to take you to a gay bar. To a gay bar called Heaven in Liverpool. It can't be a straight bar called Heaven. I've got a stamp and everything. Uh, thanks, Kate. Hi, Leapshin. Kind of cool too. Scouse jokes are coming like a torrent of vomit. Not complaining, all good, says Phil. Gives a job. Gives a jab, says Yozza Hughes, my uncle. Uncle Yozza. Uncle Yozzarian. Anyway, so where are we? It's what the headlines. The headlines. Andy Burnham was on the James O'Brien. Who's that other guy? Andrew Marr. He was on the Andrew Marr show last night. Being into his first big interview really since it's been quite clear that he's going to become the next prime minister, and it was good. We'll get into that. NATO leaders are heading to Ankara next week to keep the alliance together. The proposed US gun rule could make home delivery of firearms easier. GoDaddy is warning that India's crackdown on fake brand websites could damage online privacy and global internet governance. Thai authorities say that drug gangs using social media to recruit airline crew as cross-border couriers. If you've ever seen the music video for Learn to Fly by the Foo Fighters, yeah, I think it's a bit like that. 40 people died in Pakistan after a bus fell off a ravine. Monaco has issued an arrest warrant and sought an Interpol red notice after a parcel bomb wounded 3 people, which I mentioned the other day. It was a Ukrainian family that were targeted by a parcel bomb. And I hate the word parcel because you can't say the word parcel without sounding really posh. To be fair, it does have an R in it, whereas like posh people tend to put R's in things where they don't belong, like in bath and glass and other words that they put a hard A in. So it's like a gloss or a bath. I'm going for a bath. When I hear someone say they're going for a bath, I think they're going to go and be sick. Get it all out. Better out than in. Meanwhile, South Korean conglomerates have announced $195 billion worth of investment in AI, robotics, mobility, and space-linked projects. And Meta has admitted that its AI agent work is moving more slowly than Mark Zuckerberg expected. And we've talked about AI to death on this channel, and like I sort of veer from like massive concern about it and not giving a toss, and I'm kind of at the point of not really giving a toss. We're not seeing the job disruption that we were promised that it will bring because it gets things wrong. I don't think it's a threat to artistry. I'm not just saying that to be cool and clever. I really don't think it's a threat. And the reason why I don't think it's a threat to artists making really good content, whether that's movies or music, love or romance, whatever it is, AI is just an imitation of life. It's just a pale imitation of humanity, and the people who are putting their money into it, I think they're fools. I think there's nothing to base it on. There's no reality. There's a data center. Okay, you got a data center. That's not worth $1 trillion. It's not. It's just simply not. And also, any kind of data center they put together, when the new generation of chips comes out, anyway, you went to heaven last night. Is this a true story? Says Martin. Well, I can't really remember much, mate. I just have a stamp on my hand. So that's what, when you wake up in the morning, you're like, where the fuck was I last night? How did I get home? What? And then you look at your hand and you're okay, I must have been there. Alexa laughed. Okay, thank you. At least Alexa laughed. Are the Scousers like Harry Enfield Scousers? Calm down, calm down. No, we never say that. Countdown. Yeah, me too. The fact Trump honestly thought he was talking to Teddy Roosevelt should show Congress and the American people that he's unfit to be president, says Chris. Yeah. I mean, I guess there's a shot that there's bits of footage going around of Trump talking to Teddy, like asking Teddy Roosevelt questions, and people are like, "Oh my god, he's mental," which he is. But like, it was an AI thing set up so you could ask questions from this former president and he would respond to you. But then it's a speech he gave afterwards where he told people that he talked to Teddy Roosevelt and he said this, he said that. I'm just like, do you want to add a bit of context there, Donny? No, okay. Fucking horrible man. Saw some clips of Burnham interview on Newsnight. Yeah, it was on LBC. It was on LBC Radio yesterday. Bloody hell! It looked up and it was the Ford Green in Chapeltown. Once drank there and then shopped at the Continental Market to know what it is now. Phil's out on a bender for the weekend, I guess. Life is an imitation of life. There is no way this is reality. I mean, the program isn't even trying to hide it anymore. Yeah. What if this is all a simulation? Well, then let's just make the best of it, I guess. Having worked with some amazing concept artists and copyrights, AI isn't a patch on real life creators, says Martin. Yeah. It can only imitate what's already been. It can only regurgitate what has already been created. It can't create. It can't make stuff up. And there's a certain amount of randomness and non sequitur that you'll think AI will be quite good at in a way. So whenever we play Cards Against Humanity, we always play with Rando Cardrician, which is we just pick out one card from the deck and put it down as, one of the answers, and it's always completely random. And sometimes Rando wins the game, because it's so random. It's funny. My younger stepdaughter, she doesn't do it now, but when she was younger, she would set up one joke, and then she'd give the punchline of a completely separate joke, and it was fucking hilarious. It was funnier than the joke, because when kids tell jokes, it's usually ones you've heard of, but you just didn't know what she was going to say, and so the randomness was hilarious. But AI can't get that right either. If they did sort of do stuff that was a bit more random and went off on non sequiturs and things, it would in a way seem more human. But there's no way, I don't think, of programming AI to do that. There's a certain level of humanity that comes with being human, essentially. And I don't think that AI will ever be able to replicate that. And one of the interesting things that I've read about in the last few months, they were talking about how basically modern art, so surrealism, Salvador Dali's surrealism, but even impressionism, so Monet, and then you got Dadaism, and all these different artistic forms came about in response to the advent of cameras. Essentially, up to that point, artists were trying to make a photographic realness of people when they did portraits. And when photographs came along, they were like, oh, we're going to be out of a job now. So art went in a new direction. And AI won't be able to create the next new art movement. It won't. Why? Because it can't create. It can only take things that have already been created and remix them. That's it. So yeah, I do sort of veer between despair and not really thinking it's going to be a big deal. And today I'm not feeling like it's going to be a particularly big deal. Sean says, to me, AI is a tool like Word or Excel at the moment, not quite like the internet yet. In comparison, more like the internet precursor to the internet. But it gets things wrong. I think that's the big problem with the with AI, it gets things wrong all the fucking time. And it doesn't matter how many times you tell it to do this or do that. You put in a new prompt and it just seems to forget what happened yesterday. So every time you type something in, it's like you've got to give it the whole instructions. Do you know what I mean? Um, you play Cards Against Humanity with the kids. No, we have Kids Against Humanity, I think it's called. So what they've done is they've swapped out some of the cards so they're not so offensive. I've had some experiences with Cards Against Humanity where the funniest way to play it is with not get the British version and play it with people who aren't British, who don't know who Jimmy Savile is. That's usually the funniest way to play it because like they'll be throwing down cards completely randomly to like get rid of them because it's someone they've never heard of. You're just like, oh my god. What never fails to live what never fails to liven up the party, and then they put down Jimmy Savile and you're like and they're sitting there like completely oblivious because they're American and they've never heard of him, and they're like, I just had to get rid of the card basically because I had a bunch of shit cards. AI has been the savior of middle management, polished emails, Viz Copilot, etc. Makes them sound intelligent and sophisticated, justifying their existence, but not for long. Middle management. Fave says, my issue with AI is the amount of resources it's taken up from water and power to the silicon, which is pushing up the price of computing goods from phones to consoles. Yes, that is very true. Disney saying love Cards Against Humanity. It is very, very funny. I was playing Cards Against Humanity once with a mixed race couple, and she was from New York, and he was from Austria, and they were playing Cards Against Humanity, and she put down the card. There's a black woman from New York, and she puts down the card, "Why am I covered in bruises?" as the question. She asked the question, and like we're all putting stuff down, and basically our fella is the last one to put the card down. And as soon as she looks at it, because like you shuffle them up, and she goes, "Was this you?" And he put down a card saying the KKK. Okay, now. And I honestly, we were in a bar in Panama at the time, and I literally had to leave the room. I couldn't stay in there. I was just like, oh my god! And she holds it up, and she's like, "This was you, wasn't it?" To her fucking husband, and I was just like, "Oh, okay, I'm going now. I'm going. Yeah, Picard Against Humanity is absolutely fucking hilarious." Savile Full. What what never fails to liven up the party, and then one of the Americans put down a card saying Jimmy Savile because they didn't know who he was. It's just like, again, had to leave the room. My issue with AI is it steals my job as a translator and my husband's as a graphic designer. As a translator, Alexa, yeah, I could totally get that. But I think there'll always be a place for live translators in the UN or whatever, because AI just can't pick up nuance of language like translators can. As far as graphic design is concerned, I've got a lot of mates who are graphic designers. I tend to swim in sort of creative waters whenever I can, and that talking to them about it, they're very much of the opinion, or the ones I've spoken to about it, they're very much of the opinion that it looks shit. Do you know what I mean? It's like word art. It's shite. It's just, it doesn't. It's good in a way because if you want to get started on something, you can use something as the AI generates as sort of a template, but you end up doing it yourself. Because if you it's easier to go on the internet and type in what you want and then see what the results are on Google Images and just scroll through a lot of pictures and go, okay, I want something like that, than to just type something into AI and expect it to create what you've got in your head, which, it's really shit at that because it's got no sense of context. No sense of context, no sense of continuity. What fails to liven up a party and dropping synergistic what never fails to liven up synergistic management solutions would be the perfect outcome for me. But you know what? Because I had a copy of I had the British version of Cards Against Humanity when I was living in Panama. So if anyone came to stay, I'd always play that. But like yeah, I had this Achilles heel, which was there was a a card. I think it said something like a tiny horse or something. I don't know, but it just always, whatever the question was, if someone put down the card a tiny horse to the answer to the question, I'd just die laughing. I don't know what it was about the concept of a tiny horse. It was just so surreal. But when you play Cards Against Humanity, you'll always find, or often find, that couples do really well if they know each other's sense of humor. So if you've got a partner who loves sort of sick jokes, dark humor, then you'll go that route. Or if you like you're with someone who's just really into like absolute surrealism, you'll go that way. And you'll tend to find if you play Cards Against Humanity and there's a bunch of single people and there's a couple in the group, the couple will win. Or one of the couple will win because they know what makes the other person laugh. And it's one of the challenges of the game, which I quite enjoy, is like sussing out the humor of different people, like what makes them laugh. And you've got you got 7 cards to choose from or whatever it is, or 10 cards, and I like pick the one that will make them laugh. Not necessarily the best answer as far as you're concerned, not something that will make you laugh, but something that will make them laugh, and then you'll win the round. The irony of AI is that we have to learn how to ask AI to produce what we want. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Breaking news: the UK's Culture and Media Department will stop using X because the site is now favours abuse and misinformation over meaningful debate. Fucking hell, Chris! I could have told them that 3 fucking years ago. Maybe we should do a Discord Cards Against Humanity night. Well. We'll be setting up a WhatsApp soon for all the members of the channel. So you got a little star after your name, then a rose after your name. You'll be able to join in the WhatsApp chat, the WhatsApp Hughes of the World chat. So that should be good. AI has no creative ideas. It's merely AI slop. It says, I never. It's good for coming up with a rough idea based concept. Graphic designers always bringing the ideas to life. Yeah. And again, I feel like in the same way that iPods made wedding DJs redundant, although they didn't because people still do it. But I think there is an argument that AI is a helpful tool in some respects, but for the creative industries, if anything, I think it's going to help. So what do I use AI for? I use it for doing my notes for the show. I use it when I'm making thumbnails to take away the background of a person so I can cut them out. I used to spend hours doing that. It's one of the reasons why when I started doing these shows, I started wearing a hat. When I started doing live streams, I was wearing a hat. Why was I wearing a hat? Because it was easier to cut me out. It's really hard to cut around hair, even if you're losing your hair like that I am. But yeah, if you've got a hat on, it's really easy to cut out around it. It's one of the reasons. You may have a point about interpreters oral, but translators written, definitely a job of the past. Again, mediocrity versus and speed versus quality and time consuming precision. Yeah, Alexa. But that's it, isn't it? It's expensive. If you want to get your book translated into German or French or Spanish or something, and you have to pay a person to do it. I mean, if it's nothing short of a guaranteed bestseller, then you're going to be in trouble. But I do feel like for things like a book, it would be a very foolish thing to do to run 100,000 words through a translator like Google Translate, whatever, and then just printing it out, because I think you'd lose a lot of nuance in the language. And I always remember there was an interview, this is years and years ago, with someone who wrote for the Beano, and they were talking about a difficulty of getting decent illustrators and cartoonists. And I just remember this really stuck in my head, and we talk about like the difficulty of translation. They referred to a one-armed bandit as in a fruit machine. Although I think it would have been just as bad to use the term fruit machine. But it was a foreign artist who was working on this comic strip for, I don't know, the Bash Street Kids or Watch the Dodger or something, and they wrote the script wrote one-armed bandit, in the background, and so they literally drew a man who had a mask on, like a robber's mask with one arm. And it's like, I was thinking that as an example of when things get a little bit skew-iff, do you know what I mean, when it comes to translation, because there's a lot of idioms and figures of speech that just don't get translated properly by the internet. It can't cope with them, which is kind of like a bit mad. But then you think, well, there's probably thousands of idioms that we use in the UK, and yeah, when we talk to each other as well, there's a shared understanding of. I keep going on about context, but for example, when I'm talking to my mates, I know that they've seen Brass Eye. I know that they've seen Father Ted. I know that they've watched Red Dwarf. So I can make references to that, which they'll find funny. But if they haven't seen it, and I make a joke about good AIDS or bad AIDS, they just look at me like, those people aren't my friends. But AI can't get that. AI just cannot get context. That's it. End of. I have to admit one thing AI does well. It's correct spelling for dinosaur names, which is better than many humans I've known. Lol. Well, yeah, and like I say, it's a useful tool. It has its uses. The idea that it's going to absolutely change everything we know and everything we do, I think that's bullshit. I just think it's going to make a lot of us more productive. I'll give an example. Like I did for a laugh. I put together I've stopped using AI generated. I was talking about this the other day, wasn't I? I was just trying to get money, like a screen. I wanted a picture, and it was just like money fluttering. And I ended up just using an image I found on Google because AI just couldn't get it through its thick fucking skull what I wanted. Kept fucking it up. And it's like you want to talk to it and say, what part of small don't you understand? But yeah, I done I did one of my scripts. I said, can you do me a poster image? And the poster image was shite. It was really, really shite. It was not good. It came out, and and I gave it loads of info for what I wanted, but it just looked like AI. Like a sort of brown, turgid, just shit pictures that they come to. Like the type, don't you? There's a certain look to AI art. When you say, try and make this person look realistic. There's no light in their eyes, though. Anyway, but there was a sign in the background that AI just generated based on my prompt, and it said, "Trespassers will be harvested." And I thought that's actually a really good fucking line because that fits in with the script I'd written. And yeah, AI, yeah, the AI came up with something. So it the picture it made was shite, but that idea of having that as a tagline for the movie, trespassers will be harvested. I thought, oh, that's fucking funny, that is, because that's essentially what happens to the trespassers. In The Hills Have Monocles. What publishers have started to do is get books auto-translated and hire proofreaders to check the translation, but paying them a proofreading rate 50% cheap. Oh, yeah, Alexa, yeah, I get that. Yeah. Well, I never says when it comes to AI translation, it really struggles with strong accents such as Scouse, Scottish, Irish, and just to try a hard Welsh accent, it's hysterical what comes up. Yeah, I saw someone trying to pair their phone with their car, and they kept saying pair, but they were Scottish. They were Scottish, and they were trying to say the word pair, and like the AI was having none of it, or the phone. Um, I remember an old Chinese translation, says Stu, of slippery when wet translated to slippery when crafty, which also worked. I love Chinglish. Oh, I was traveling around China. There's so much wonderful Chinglish. It's just, I think, been auto translated on some internet site. The best one I ever saw. I mean, I watched a lot of sort of pirated movies, in like cafes and stuff, not just in China but in Southeast Asia, and they'll have like different subtitles coming up. So they'll have like, if you're in Thailand, like Thai; if you're in China, Chinese. But you also have like English translation coming up, and it was obviously someone had put the whole script through a translator and translated it back to English. I don't know, but I remember watching Sin City, and it was just fucking hilarious how the subtitles just got things absolutely massively wrong. The subs used the word tourniquet for Thundercat. So there's a bit where Elijah Wood turns up and he ends up getting his arms chopped off or whatever, and the guy says, "I've wrapped you up in a tourniquet," and it was like, "I've wrapped you up in a Thundercat." And we're just like, "What?" And then there was another bit where they um Clive Owen Clive Owen's character said, I need a hard top with a fast engine," something like that. And the translation came up as like, "I need a hot towel with a diesel engine." I was just like, this is better. And the absolute S tier mistranslation. I think it was like Star Wars Episode 3 that I watched, the Rise of the Machines or whatever the fuck it was called, the Revenge of the Sith, and they had the character Anakin was known as Gold for no reason whatsoever, but he was called Gold all the way through in the subtitles, and sorry, getting a message, and he was called Gold. The Wookiees were called the Black Uns, and it was like black apostrophe UNS, the Black Uns. So it was like, Yoda was there going, "Go and talk to the Black Uns in the on Kashyyyk or whatever." And then the funniest bit was the fact that it somehow mistranslated the Jedi Council to the Presbyterian Church. So every time they talked about the Jedi Council, they would come up with like Presbyterian Church. Oh my god. My dad brought back dubbed Hookie films from Thailand years back. They were hilarious. Backstroke of the West was genius. Allah, Gold, and Ratio Tile. Backstroke of the West. Was that Gallifrey? Was that what they translated Revenge of the Sith into? I once wrote a script about a model, says Jenny, who sells her soul to the devil so she can be thin and then is haunted by demons. It was called Let Us Pray. Very good. Very good. I mean, at least it was consistent. So I'm going to just quickly run through the news stories. We're going to have 14 minutes left of the show today. So if you want to drop a super chat in, we can get the confetti. But I should be back from a meeting by 1 o'clock to do the show with Phil, hopefully. I don't know how I'm going to get there. I don't know how I'm going to get back. I can't drive. I don't think I should drive. I really don't think I should drive. Meanwhile, there is just to talk about stuff that is in the news, and this is a bit triggering, so trigger warning, obviously, as always, with this kind of thing. But there has been this sort of international drug rape, drug facilitated rape network that's been uncovered. So up till now, we thought there was Ghislaine Pellico, who was in the news, and there's been a case in Britain, very similar situation in which the husband of a woman drugged the woman and then told people to come to the house and have sex with her when she was unconscious and rape her. And the National Crime Agency is now saying that it's uncovered a truly international organised network, which is really disturbing. Men are horrible. Offenders used online forums to discuss sedating victims, arranging assaults, filming abuse, and avoiding detection. And the National Crime Agency has identified more than 270 people who are linked to one forum and its successor networks, and more than 90% of these, what they call intelligence packages, were sent abroad. In the UK, the material has led to at least 14 investigations and 8 victim survivors being safeguarded. Separate European law enforcement work has identified 156 victims and perpetrators in a related operation targeting drug-facilitated sexual assaults. And what makes I don't want to hijack this story to get on my fucking hobby horse, but I will point out that when we left the European Union, because people voted to leave the European Union because they were told to do that by really, really posh people who have never cared about anything in their life, people who have no empathy, people who they're only in it for the money. They were told to leave. We were told to leave. We were told that if we left, then our tea bags would be saved, our tea bagging would be saved, our polar bears would be saved. You know, all the polar bears that live up Ben Nevis would be saved, and it was disgraceful. It was absolutely disgraceful. And one of the things that we left when we left the EU, we left the Europe-wide criminal database. So we have no clue. People coming in to the UK from Europe who have committed crimes, we don't know, because we left for no reason. We don't have to be part. It was one of those things like Horizon, the scientific thing, research, also like Erasmus, which isn't necessarily the EU. I mean, you could honestly say it's got nothing to do with the EU. It's just a European institution that runs alongside the EU. But there are countries like, I think, Switzerland or Norway that aren't part of the European Union, but are part of Erasmus, are part of Horizon, are part of Euratom, are part of the International Intelligence Sharing Network. And I'd like to point this out to people who voted for Brexit, or even worse, people who still think it's a good idea, and say, look at this. Women are being raped across Europe, women are being raped in this country, and we're not finding out about it till too late because we're not sharing information with our European counterparts anymore about criminality. One of the reasons why the the number of refugees has gone through the fucking roof is in the last few years. First of all, it's because we left the Dublin Agreement. Again, doesn't have to be to do with the EU. We didn't have to leave that, but we left it anyway. And also, when people used to come here and claim asylum, if they'd already claimed asylum in Europe, we would know about it because we were all part of the same network. Like the police in Amsterdam or the police in Paris or whatever would share the information with the Dover police and the Met or whoever else, right? And that doesn't happen anymore. Because we pulled out of the EU and we had like a very, very hard Brexit. I really hate it when these Brexiteers say we didn't leave properly. Oh yeah, we fucking did. What we got was Brexit plus. We left a bunch of institutions that we didn't need to. But because we don't share that information, we can't turn around, and because we left the Dublin Agreement, we can't turn around and say you've already applied for asylum in another country, so we've got to process the asylum like it's fresh and new. And also, we don't know if they committed crimes in other countries. And that's why they weren't given asylum in France or Spain or Greece or wherever it was. Chris says, Graham, it gets worse. There are reports that Meta is allowing adverts on Facebook and Instagram to promote CSA in India, and they claim it doesn't violate their community guidelines. They have a big problem in India, Pakistan and Bangladesh and Sri Lanka and Nepal with child brides, and maybe Bhutan as well. I don't have enough info about that place because it is a little bit of a mountainous kingdom, the hermit kingdom. But yeah, people being married, children being married at the age of 11 or 12. Gandhi, Mohandas Gandhi, he was married as a child. He was married at the age of 11, I think. And it's just it's like it seems wild to us now, and we're kind of like, does that still happen? Yeah, in rural communities, and halfway up a hill in India, it's still that kind of thing still goes on. Child brides still happens. Anyway, I've only got 7 minutes left, so if anyone wants to drop a super chat in very quickly, we will get a confetti out of this, I'm sure. But sorry for doing a compressed show today, but obviously I woke up a bit late. My own fault. Do you know what I mean? I'm a failure of my own making. But yeah, so Burnham's interview yesterday, if anyone listened to it on LBC, we just talked about it a little bit earlier. But he's promised a new direction while also promising to stick to the 2024 Labour manifesto, which is fine. That's what he's supposed to do. That's what they were elected on. I know they're not. I know people vote for the party. They don't read the manifesto. And I know that people don't vote for their MP. They vote for the party. But then at the end of the day, and if they leave to go to another party, we should probably have a by-election. But we don't. It's a system. It's a system we've got. All right. So whatever. I'm sure Andy Burnham is quite interested in changing the system and bringing in proportional representation, which I think would be a good idea. But then there's issues with that as well. How far do you go with proportional representation? I don't want a situation where one party gets 40%, the other party gets 40%, and then the party that gets the other 20% gets to be the kingmaker, gets to decide who is the government. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's right. So obviously there's different flavors of proportional representation, and we'll have to find one that works for us. But I think essentially that it needs to end up with one party getting more votes than anybody else. And I have to say, I do feel like, and I might be wrong about this, I don't know, but generally speaking, the system that we've got at the moment, although it's shonky and it's not great, and it could be a lot better, it locks the far right and the far left, to be fair. It locks them out of ever gaining a foothold in government, because you've got to win in it. You've got to win in the majority of constituencies. It's not about winning the most votes. That's what a lot of people sort of take away from our election system. They go, "Oh, they only got a third of the votes and they got a majority in Parliament." And I'm like, yeah, but they won the most. They won out of all the different candidates in each of the constituencies. Do I want Refuck to have a stronger voice in Parliament? Do I want them to have 25% of the MPs? No, not really. I don't want a quarter of the MPs to be from Refuck. My only concern, my only one of my many concerns with all this is the fact that Refuck have got so much money. And I'll keep saying this. I'm sorry if it upsets people, but in a general election, not a by-election, not a local council election, but in a general election, the Greens don't stand a chance. And this isn't a diss on the Greens. I know people watching this are fans of the Greens and they want them to do well, and I think they could win a lot of seats, but they have the same problem as the Liberal Democrats: is they just don't have any money. They don't have billionaires funding them. Refuck's got billionaires funding it, which, But I don't want to derail the conversation this morning about to talk about proportional representation. Maybe at some point I'll get Femi on and we'll have a proper ding dong about it. We'll have a proper debate. Have publishers reduced typeface in books for cost-cutting purposes, or is it just me and my eyesight? Looking at my book, Man of the World, I realised the margins are too small, and there's not enough of a gap between the lines. So I've talked to my publisher, and essentially, when the next book comes out, we're doing a whole reprint of the first book. So it's gonna be easier to read. But we have actually reduced the font, the typeface, by 1 point. Anyway, so yeah, Andy Burnham, we're just talking about them. Rachel Reeves' spring statement left £23.6 billion of fiscal headroom. But then since then, the pressures have included higher defense costs, the stupid invasion of Iran by Americans, well, the bombing of Iran, borrowing costs, inflation risks, and economic effects of what's happening in Iran. And Burnham was kind of like, well, the big takeaway from that interview, if you watched it or listened to it, was that he said that he was unaware of this fiscal black hole that is this 4.7 billion pounds needs to be found in the autumn budget. But Burnham talks about there being some room for Labour in Labour's manifesto for movement on tax, and we might be looking at he might be looking at land tax, taxing the land that your property is on, which is something that Phil says we should do, which is something that a lot of other commentators have said in the past that we should do, and I completely agree. Having a land tax, because you look at it this way: in London, they put in Crossrail or the Elizabeth line, and or the extension to the Jubilee line, and the people who lived near those lines, they saw the worth of their properties go up by 3 times, 4 times, even 5 times as much, because they were suddenly close to a tube station, and that all that money was kept. So this is public money being spent on building infrastructure, and then all that, the dividends from that public money that's been spent, a lot of it goes to landlords or people who own homes. People who paid off their mortgage a long time ago. Suddenly their house is worth 3 times as much because there's a railway down the road, and I think that's a bit unfair. I think that, if your value of your property has gone up significantly, yeah, you should pay some tax on that. David Faulkner, thank you very much for the 15 Hong Kongian dollars there. Lift the left, Roger the right. Absolutely, my friend. Absolutely. So I'm going to get off in a moment because it is past now. But before we go, just a quick look at the papers. We've got England's big all-nighter, because obviously we're going to be playing in the middle of the night on Monday morning or Sunday night. There's a picture of Nicola Sturgeon there having a drink, because, whatever. And then we've got a picture of the future Queen, Princess Thingy, Kate. And in case you forgot what she looked like, there she is smiling again in the Telegraph, just so you know. Change law to kick out rapist, number 10 told. Labour failed to prepare for power before winning landslide, admits McSweeney. This was an interview with Morgan McSweeney, which confirmed what a lot of us had suspected about Labour failing to prepare for power. Financial Times leads with OpenAI seeks political buy-in with plan to hand Washington a 5% stake, which we talked about yesterday. A lot of these stories, we do the news in the morning here on the channel, and a lot of these stuff, it's like, didn't we talk about that yesterday? Spending cuts to fund defense plans will cost 10,000 jobs. Extra time, Mexican rave. Princess Catherine, kick out rape monster, gang monster. Now, Putin's drones spied on Britain's nuclear military sites. That doesn't surprise me. And rapist cop jail for 10 years. So yeah, the usual. Oh, hang on. Whoa. The usual gamut of headlines there. All from like the day before yesterday, which is kind of like, can you give us some new news? A lot of those headlines were like, we're gonna play Mexico in Mexico. Okay, cool. We know. Yeah, you're gonna have to stay up late because it's gonna be shown at 1 o'clock in the morning. Fucking FIFA. But at least it's going to be a reasonable time for the 7 people who live in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Oh, we got a message deleted. Oh, cool. Matthew, hello, Matthew. And Matthew is advertising. Oh my God. Yeah, something absolutely fucking horrific. Oh, hang on. Okay, so got rid of him. You can actually report people for SA or CSA. So I've just done that. Anyway, wow, quick mod hammer there, bravo, very good. Okay, so yeah, so there's a quick rundown of the headlines there. Just before I go, there's a proposed ATF, or alcohol, tobacco and firearms. This is part of the American government. It's a federal agency. A proposed rule would allow licensed dealers to ship firearms directly to in-state buyers after online identity checks and a 7-day waiting period. So you'll be able to buy guns online in America. Just having a look at the other headlines, just see if I missed anything. There's nothing really that interesting, to be honest with you. There is Mark Zuckerberg has told Meta staff that AI agent development is moving more slowly than expected. Yeah, because no one wants it. I don't need AI in my WhatsApp. It's not necessary. It is not necessary. I want to know what my live chat hasn't updated. That's a bit upsetting. My live chat hasn't updated. It's updated here on the screen, but in my copy of it, it's not actually done anything, which is kind of annoying. I should F5 it. Yeah, I've done it. No practical definition of freedom will be complete without the freedom to take the consequences. Indeed, the freedom is upon which all others are based. That's Terry Patrick quote there from One-Legged Pagan, which I completely agree with. Now, we didn't get enough super chats to do a confetti cannon, so we're gonna save that till 1 o'clock today. So if I'm back in time, I hope I will be from a meeting. I will be doing a show at 11 with Phil Morehouse, so please join me for that. Thank you for being awesome and sticking with me, even though I was half an hour late getting started, because I'm a terrible boy. I was out late last night. Not your fault, my fault. Not my words, Lynn. The words of Shaken Stevens. Did you buy a kangaroo wearing a cardigan? It's been known. It has been known. Anyway, listen, thanks very much for joining us this morning, and thanks for everyone being nice and friendly in the chat, apart from that one weird troll. I'll be back at 1 o'clock today. If I don't see you then, I'll hopefully see you tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock for Morning Brew on Saturday. But otherwise, if I don't see you again until then, have a great day. Have a great rest of the day. Oh, you're at Mum's. It's you are. It's you apostrophe R-E Wayne. Yeah, I am at my mum's. Anyway, no mum jokes, please. Okay, so thanks very much for watching, Alexa and Stu and Supermassive Wayne and Diz and Elle and Phil and everyone else. Listen, have a great rest of the day. And until I see you again, take care, everyone. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.